Okay, so the economics of wood chipping. I want to look at this. So, for example, yesterday I was in my house and there was a tree in my neighbor's yard. That's a tree, not a nuclear warhead. Let's make it green. For some reason my pen, yeah, whatever, I don't need to get fancy. And so the chainsaw came along, cut the thing down, fell over, there it is on the ground. And what was mainly happening, we had a heat engine, maybe, I'm just going to call it 100 horsepower heat engine. Q's going in, we just covered what Q is. Q's coming out. There's work being done. What's the work? Well, the work is the mechanical work required to break apart all the carbon bonds in the tree in order to make it into little tiny bits. So it's, it's flying into basically entropicizing the tree. It's like we saw with the second law. The tree is now entropicized, sitting in a truck and what the owner of the tree service told me is he would sell 13 cubic yards of woody biomass for $150. Now, I'm sure they were paid to cut down the trees. I don't know what the tree service fee was, but really from their mind, this thing is more or less waste. They did not turn it into lumber. They're not going to turn it into fuel. They're not going to energy. It's just mulch, and someone's going to pay $150 to have this thing, put on their flower beds. It's probably going to be more like an institution, a bank is going to want to do some landscaping or what have you. Let's see how that looks from an energetic point of view. And I just did this calculation last night for a different project.
You just sit around and not do math. You know. You're like, let's do some math. Yeah, you do that.
Guilty. All right. So check this out. Here's some Montana biomass math for you. I can take it, Shelley. So right now, so the University of Montana has some very talented folks who track the economic status of the state of Montana. One of our economic assets and liabilities is our forests. It's an asset in that you could take the logs, cut them down, turn them into trees, turn them into houses, people buy them and live comfortably. It's a liability in that it's all sitting around dead, dry, ready to go up like a bomb every summer because we haven't figured out our forest management practices, and we pay people millions of dollars to squirt a little tiny drip of water on it rather than go in and take care of it now and do some fire roads, et cetera, so you can see the fire start from satellite and then get access to where the spark happened and put out a small fire rather than a gargantuan one that not only burns the wood, but frankly burns the soil right with it. It just scorches it right down to the bare rocks. So, right now, there are 150 million dry tons of lumber standing on the 200 million acres of Montana. 150 million. 150 million dry tons. Now, that doesn't even count what's on the ground. The soil scientists might say, well, let's let it sit there and turn into soil. Well, it might, but it might not. It might go up like a bomb. And and we do have models for predicting where the next fire is going to start. Steve Running, our Nobel laureate, has satellites pointing right down at these things all the time, and there are statisticians who could say, that's the most likely to burn, that's the most likely to burn. Go get it now, and don't let it take everything else with it. So, here's your Energy 101. That many tons, I don't know, I've got it out here somewhere. there are 15,000 megajoules of energy in a dry ton of wood, so 15 gigajoules in a dry ton of wood. So that many BTUs, you can convert that to megajoules, you can convert that to kilowatt hours. So let's just say we're going to take this wood and turn it into electricity, because that's what we're doing with the coal anyway. We're going to set the coal on fire and turn it into electricity. Why not just do it with the wood and turn it into an economic product rather than an economic and life-threatening liability? So this is per ton, and then what I did is just multiplied the total tons in the forest times the total BTUs per ton. Turn that into megajoules, turn that into kilowatt hours. If we're going to turn it into electricity, 35% efficiency, I mentioned that previously because these are heat engines we're dealing with. 6 cents a kilowatt hour, that's about what it's going to cost the utility. They're going to sell it for 10 because they've got their machinery, equipment, et cetera, to run. There are $37 billion worth of dead wood sitting in the forests of Montana right now. For just electricity, $37 billion. Just sitting there. Now you could run a 51 megawatt power plant for 5 years with that. I thought that was pretty big, and then I looked at Colstrip, which is running at 2 gig. It's nothing to sneeze at, though. You could also run a 5 megawatt plant for 50 years off of that dry wood, off that dead wood. And that's, that's like 3 or 4 of the big wind turbines up in Judith Gap. It's about the equivalent. So anyway, I guess what I wanted to do here, if we took the BTUs per ton, let's just look at let's just take the wood in the back of that truck and turn it into electricity. So 13 cubic yards. Wood is, it's about the same density as water. Wood itself, it's about the same. Wood floats, right? I guess Monty Python, wood floats, maybe a little less. But I'm going to call that 13 cubic yards about 13 tons. So if I put that into 13, so it could have turned that $150 worth of wood into $3,000 worth of electricity. So there's an economic prospect for you. So as you're doing your recycling, mathematics, calculations, what have you, this is the lens you want to look at it through. What could I do instead? Because I've put the work in. I've ground the stuff up. So let's get the maximum utility out of the material, whatever it is. Wood, compost, electronic waste, whatever. Let's get the maximum, not only energetic, but quite frankly, economic utility out of it. So, all right, that's all I got. 150E. Smarter, not harder. I like that. $37 billion. Float this past the powers that be. Hopefully, raise some eyebrows. And that's just the dead stuff. That's the stuff that nobody wants.